I guess the strongest I've ever felt would be when my first son was born. Me and my partner have been together now about 8 years. She had two sons when we got together. We had a great relationship, and then we got the happy news that she was pregnant, and obviously it was my first child. I was over the moon, of course, and then I think we got to the 29-week, 30-week stage. It was 29 weeks, and there was complications. They were a bit worried about his movements, and we were rushed to East Surrey Hospital, and we had an emergency appointment with a consultant who said, basically, we need to get your son out now. He's in distress. He's got the cord wrapped. There's real problems here. We need to perform an emergency C-section. So at 30 weeks gone. We'd gone in there expecting just to be monitored, and all of a sudden we were having a baby, and it was a scary time because obviously we knew we had to do it. We didn't have a choice. So anyway, he was born with no complications, thankfully, and he was in neonatals for 8 weeks. Came home for a week, and then unfortunately got poorly. He got they later found that it was, they call it rhinovirus, which is basically a cold. But when a baby's quite premature, their lungs are the last thing to develop, and it hit him really hard. So within sort of 4 hours of us calling an ambulance, Isaac was ventilated in St George's in London, which is like ICU. And, you know, my baby was £2.5 when he was born, and he was maybe 8 weeks old, 9 weeks old at this time, so he was maybe about £4.7, I think, and he was tiny. And just seeing, he had tubes everywhere, and when you've gone through something so traumatic as an emergency C-section at 30 weeks, your baby has come out fine, perfectly healthy. You think, my God, you know, thank the Lord, you know, I'm so lucky. And then you get that setback. So one of us had to be at the hospital at all times with Isaac. We both stayed at the hospital because neither of us wanted to leave the other alone. But then you have the problem of we had two other children at home. We still had to keep that connection with them kids. So every day I would come home from London, see the children for a couple of hours, and then go back. And he was in there for 10 days, ventilated, you know. And me and her would, it seems silly to say this now, but we would have the pettiest little arguments when we're in the hospital, you know. When something's not going our way, like one day they said he'd be going back to East Surrey, things were going well. And then East Surrey said they had no beds. And Isaac had made improvements, but then he got an infection while he was in there, and there was another setback. And these things, they pile upon you, you know, like when you've got a block Jenga, yeah, and everything that goes wrong, you remove one of them blocks, eventually things are going to topple down. And that's exactly what happened, you know. We were angry, we were upset, not at each other, but at the situation. But it showed me how strong a woman she is. I mean, I like to think that I was strong too, but she kept me strong. She kept me balanced. With that power that she has, I felt empowered, you know. But we eventually got to the end of that sort of battle, and you know, he was home, and we haven't actually had any other issues, and thankfully Isaac is now completely healthy. For me, that's the strongest I've ever felt. You could easily just give up, you know. I don't know where it comes from, but you just get that you know, the strength to do things that you never thought that you could achieve. You never thought you could go through that. And that, since then, that has changed my life. So I now look at things a lot differently. I changed everything about me, my goals, my ambitions, my work ethic. After that, I sort of kind of reassessed, and I wanted to help people. I wanted to do things in the community, and I like to think that I've achieved something you know, since Isaac was poorly, and I like to think that one day he'll be proud of me, and you know, but yeah, that's my story.